Welcome to Bloody Good Horror, covering the best and worst of the horror genre since Halloween 2007. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, my children. Welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be discussing the Blackcoat's Daughter, and possibly that old episode of South Park with Butters, where he sings that weird song, because this movie totally reminded me of that. Topic for discussion.
The Butters song?
Yeah.
Was it the Butters episode?
I've got something in my Blackcoat's Daughter for you. Something like that. First up on the show, the business manager at Bloody Good Horror, coming to you live from Manhattan, New York City, with a brown t-shirt on for some reason. I bring it up because it's literally the first time in years I've ever seen him wear that. His name is John Schnorrs.
Sometimes you just feel you're having a brown day, Eric. You know?
I get it, bro.
It's actually a graphic tee. It has a lovely beer logo on it.
Cool.
Graphic tee. Go on.
Next up on the show, he is the web developer at bloodygoodhorror.com, and no big deal, the managing editor. Editor-in-chief.
He's got all the titles.
His name is Mark.
Hi there.
Also my brother, which I maintain is his most illustrious title to date.
Sure. And I've had it since birth. Imagine
That's
that.
right. Last up tonight on the show, coming to us live from Chicago, Illinois. He likes to drink beer and tell us about it. His name is Joe.
Shot-town, stand up.
Joe, were you saying today that an embarrassing gif of you from this show was played in front of your entire company?
Oh yeah. Somehow, one of our art directors got a hold of it, and it ended up in like a office update, like full company presentation.
The Skung Island one.
Yeah. No. It was one of the dancing ones.
Oh,
like one of the
that's
earlier.
Great.
Yeah.
That's
Perfect.
great.
So yeah, that's the thing.
So
if they're on the internet,
so there goes that thin veneer of you trying to act normal at work.
Oh, even worse, it was to celebrate my quote unquote #1 rated Real Housewives podcast.
Very nice.
So,
Well, can you send me this whatever email I need to send the video of you dancing to starships at my bachelor party to you? Can I?
No, honestly, like it's these two guys, like they're buddies of mine that I work with, and now at like every office function, I get paranoid anytime I'm doing anything that they're somewhere like recording, because they're totally those guys.
Because
they don't even have to record. This just is on YouTube afterwards.
Yeah. Well, I think you guys saw. I sent like a video. There's one of like me dancing at the like Thanksgiving party with like the leftovers. Like they're the same culprits.
For all you know, they've become patrons and are hanging out on Slack, just gathering material on you.
We do. I do have at least one person I work with who is a patron subscriber.
Yeah.
And they have like infiltrated the video feed on many occasions.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, Mark, I wanted to give you your low bar praise for this evening.
Get it out, buddy.
You were the first to show up to the show. Still late, I would like to say, but...
That's not true. I was here right at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, that's fucking late. Have you ever heard that expression? Like, if you show up when I tell you to be there, you're late.
We didn't even have a pre-show.
Is that how you run your life?
This is going dark really fast.
We didn't even have
You're
a
not going to dock our pay, are you, Eric?
What are you, from California or some shit? You're like, yeah, bro, I showed up on time, man.
You only get 4 chicken nuggets a week, Joe.
I'm just relaxed.
Let me tell you how disappointed I am in all of you.
I'm just relaxed. I take it easy because I'm from the West Coast.
I really had no idea where that was going, but I will accept that compliment.
I did cancel the pre-show, but all you guys just fucking showed up whenever you wanted to. So
you guys are lucky that I wasn't here at 8:30.
Yeah.
I should thank your lucky stars that I fucking grace you with my presence every week. Save this little ragtag group of fucks.
Oh,
well,
Lord.
Speaking of fucks and stuff, a lot of interesting stuff. A lot of interesting stuff happened this week, Mark. First of all,
that's my favorite Care Bear. Fucks and stuff.
It hasn't been released yet, but episode 3 of the Eric Show in the can.
Oh, exciting news!
I recorded. It is Volume 3, Episode 1 of the Oral History of BGH.
How
Wait,
far
how is it the
into,
third volume? I'm confused.
No, well, it's going to be no because this is the third episode. I'm calling my episodes volumes. I'm
Oh,
I'm
interesting.
actively trying to make the naming system as convoluted as humanly possible.
You know, like Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yeah, exactly. So it's volume 3, but then the oral history of BGH episode 1 because it's a sub series.
Little known fact, Eric's actually been doing 3 versions of this show with other people for about 10 years now.
Wait, wouldn't the first 2 episodes be like volume 1, episodes 1 and 2, and therefore you should really only be on volume?
Yeah, that's fair actually, but no.
For someone who's 10 minutes into the show and has yet to pick a word of the day, you sure
Yes.
are mincing words.
Yeah, come on. I've got it under control, Joe. Don't worry.
Yeah, sip your wine over there, fancy
There's
schnars.
something about the visual of John drinking white wine in a brown shirt that's real confusing to me.
You go with what you got.
But yeah, so I'm gonna edit that tomorrow night while I edit this show, so you'll probably see it around a similar time. I decided to do. I've lately, Schnars, I feel like I forget things, like everyday things, old things that happened. Like my mind is
You're
just
old AF, bro.
my mind is starting to go in a weird way. So I decided it was time to kind of let's use this as a time capsule, if you will, or a sort of living history of Bloody Good Horror. So this
Your child and/or future children are gonna want to know.
yeah, exactly.
Went down.
I mean,
Someday when you're old and gray and they notebook you in a hospital.
John, let's put it this way: if you don't think that the history of Bloody Good Horror is worth saving, then what does that say about how you spent the last 10 years of your life?
Oh, hey, listen, it's saved. It's
That's
the
all I'm saying.
podcast. That's all I need.
Yeah. So anyway, this first part is basically like the early years of like my childhood, getting into horror, through really up until about when I started college, because that was when Mark and I started the. So the part 2 will be Mark and I starting the site, getting it off the ground, and then the first death. It was like when Superman got his back broken, but then he came back when they brought him back. So that's the plans for
Sure.
episodes. Probably 2 and 3, maybe 4. Let's see how crazy we get. You know.
What episode will you get to where I join so people know when to start listening?
Well, so my thought is after I do that is that I wanted to kind of talk to the main guys in the show separately and do little one-off shows where we do talk about like your guys' specific experiences with the show and how you got involved and like your thoughts and all that stuff. So it's the whole thing, guys. I just wanted to bring it up because I know Joe is like shocked that I actually recorded an episode 3. Like
Wow.
I know Joe thought I was done after 2.
I like how you've gone from faint praise for me to faint praise for yourself.
This could be.
I like
fun,
how it's getting aggressive against Joe. Actually,
No, it's not. I'm just like I actually live to impress Joe. So
Fair.
I feel like this could be a fun, like, rather than doing predictions of box office, we can predict when the Eric show is gonna
how many
like,
episodes?
run out of steam.
You can't tell me though, because that'll
Yeah,
spoil
no. We'll have to do it behind the
that'll
scenes.
ruin the sample. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Something else exciting. So that's for patrons only. Episode 1 of the Eric Show is free in the feed. Episode 2 and beyond will be just for patrons. A little bonus.
I thought they were volumes.
Whatever. A little bonus for their amazing support of us. The other thing, Mark, and this is a new thing that we were giving to patrons that we just wanted to bring up because it dropped last week and it's been just momentous, is Slack. We've invited patrons into Slack, our Slack that we were already using every day anyway, to like interact with us and go crazy. It's already resulted in several really awkward exchanges that have been really funny and fun. So
Man, it is exponentially more distracting than I thought it was going to be, and I mean that in a good way. I thought that, I figured it was going to go one of two ways, right? That we would either invite all these people and it would be like crickets, or it would just be like a never-ending wall of text, and it's sort of trending towards the latter, which I think is great. I think people are interacting with each other. We have lots of cool channels. We're like sharing music. We're talking about video games. We're recommending other podcasts to each other. It's really cool.
There's legit like 100 people who are like signed up now. Like I keep seeing new names
nice.
of people joining channels and stuff. So
I just sent 2 more invites right now while we're on the show.
very nice.
We already had our first Slack baby the other day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
It's gonna be beautiful. My goal is to
Slack baby and
start
like
match people up.
by my recollection, like
I kind of thought I saw it already happening, but I didn't want to call it out. I didn't want to embarrass anybody.
30 minutes before he was like chatting me up about just mundane nerd shit, and then like 30 minutes later it was like a picture of a baby. I'm like, what the fuck were you doing while your wife was in labor? Slack. That's the power of Slack.
It
So-
Maybe we
totally
could just make like a separate channel where I just help fix people up. Like maybe that'll be my thing.
Yeah.
like a really weird like speed dating scenario. Like
Yeah.
you just hop in, Joe's always there, and
So,
then he like matches you up with somebody.
Yeah, let's get weird. Let's talk about ourselves here.
Yeah.
So that's great. If you want to check out all that stuff for patrons, patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. This show, of course, and the website, always free for all who seek refuge, Schnars. Unlike
or refuse. either
unlike
way.
America in 2017, we will take your poor, tired, huddled masses.
Mhm.
So
All of the masses. Yeah.
John won't take your pour.
No,
Come on.
he'll take them, but he'll put them to work.
I'm not gonna like throw them out in the cold.
There's cleaning to be done.
It's warm out right now, so.
Mark, any updates from the website front?
We're still publishing new reviews every day. We got a new writer, Craig. He hasn't actually written anything you can see on the site yet, but that'll be coming up very, very soon. And that's it. I mean, we've got new reviews every day. Where we actually have a review. We did not have a review of the original Night of the Living Dead on the website until this very day.
Nice.
So,
Oh, wow.
so that went up today.
One of the few black and white movies that I find like I can watch and be like, yeah, this is good.
They're coming to get you, Eric.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty awesome. We've been reviewing some newer stuff, but we also have been going back and kind of reviewing some older stuff, which is cool. I think it's cool to see sometimes. Some of our reviewers are actually seeing these movies for the first time, which I think is kind of a cool perspective, as opposed to just being like, I saw Evil Dead for the 15th time and it was the best movie ever, and here's a review of it.
Yeah.
So,
It's
kind of you get a pretty cool perspective. You get a really good mix of opinions and stuff on movies. So you should check it out at bloodygoodhorror.com.
Very nice. Very nice. John Schnars,
Yes, Eric.
what does the future hold for all of us?
I am so glad that I spent the last 3 minutes looking at Box Office Mojo because I wasn't sure you were going to ask, but then I was like, maybe you will. And here we are. So we talked last week that this little movie called Dead Awake popped up out of like completely nowhere and was listed previously as a wide release. That has been downgraded to not wide. So we're probably going to have to call that a game time decision. If we don't do that, there's probably 3 or 4 movies kicking around. We've been talking about, things that have come out in limited release this year that we would probably sneak in. So we'll have to call 512 a wait and see
So
for right now.
so probably not in the theater.
Probably not. I mean,
that's a bummer. I was
it's
kind of looking
getting
forward to the quiet.
Yeah, we're probably going to be back on something video, but after that, we have a little film called Alien Covenant. So strap in.
Is that the one that's like based on Prometheus?
Just all the greasy, sweaty, phallus aliens you would ever want.
Oh boy.
It's just so slimy. There's gonna be so much slime.
Acid
Geiger
spit.
me.
Danny McBride trying to ride the line of being a serious character, but also still being funny because he's Danny McBride.
I'm very much excited about it.
Oh yeah.
Danny McBride, that is, and the movie generally. We then have a couple more weeks open, so we'll find some stuff to plug in there. Then we go. Let me count them: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight weeks with theatrical releases. So it's about to get real.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean,
goddamn.
we will keep folks posted on the sort of like order of operations because there are a couple weeks with 2. We'll kind of be slotting some stuff in and sliding things around. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun summer, guys.
Keep it
Slotting
PG,
and
Jonathan.
sliding.
This reminds me, John. Thank you for reminding me. Thank you for that. First of all, impeccable.
course.
Second of all, we got a tweet from a fan today, Chase TX. He's a long time. He went because he is apparently an insane person, and he created a letterboxed list of every single movie that we have reviewed on Bloody Good Horror. And I will tell you, Mark, as going back to my like feeling senile thing, just even without even scrolling down the page, just seeing the first like 30 things that loaded, I went, what? Like what?
Yeah. I mean, to be clear, it is a very accurate list, and I also had the exact same experience.
Which actually gave me another idea for the Eric show, which is like there's probably at least 5 movies in the history of BGH where at least 5, maybe more, I couldn't see it, and I just kind of moderated the show. So maybe I'll just go back, watch the movies, and just do a little one-off episode.
Compendium.
Yeah.
Little follow-on episode 6 years after that.
Why not?
Just like splicing your commentary.
John, at the point
show.
that somebody is listening to me talk to myself in the car, why do you assume there are limits to what I can talk about?
No, it's not a crazy idea. I would listen to it. I'm not kidding.
There
So, we'll see.
Maybe we could do
delivering, Eric. I have a high bar for podcasts.
We could do like a game show episode where one of us just reads a title of a movie and you have to tell us whether or not we actually did it on the show.
Oh, I would.
Ooh.
I used to curate all the classics when we were doing like the one-off sale, like sort of simple goods downloads. I'm pretty sure I could get. You'd have a hard time tricking me.
I gotta say that. Well, I just wanted to say thank you to him because somebody said like, how I think it was Joe through our Twitter said, how long did that take? And he said, an embarrassing amount of time, like literally hours. So thank you, because that's probably something we needed. It
not
actually,
gonna lie,
like,
I've tried to do this exact thing like a handful of times
Honestly?
and just given up.
honestly,
So,
I got like nostalgic / excited while I was looking through it. I don't know why, but it's kind of impressive to see it laid out like that, just with all the cover art, just the kind of scope and breadth of what we've reviewed, and to see a lot of these things that I just completely forgot about was pretty cool.
yeah, like The Roommate. Remember The Roommate?
Yeah, that was terrible.
Oh,
The
yeah.
first 2 Ginger Snaps movies. I forgot we did the Tenant and Repulsion. We did that.
That was super early.
Same episode.
Yeah.
God.
We used to do a lot of
Classics
double
such
features.
as 11, 11, 11.
Feast 2, Sloppy Seconds.
That's like, I think we should make a list of like the worst films we've ever reviewed. I would put 11, 11, 11 like very,
Yeah.
very.
even
That'd be up
Letterboxd for the Unborn has the butt poster with Odette Usman.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what else are you gonna use there, really?
Then weird little gems, like stuff we sort of were like, that was kind of cool, like The Uninvited. At least I remember liking that movie more than I expected to. We got cult classics like Pieces,
I mean, that's a
movies I will never
All time.
understand, like Six String Samurai,
Kate. That was a Casey staff.
That
pick.
was I remember that.
Donkey
That was
Punch.
like really back in the yellow days where we just didn't,
Anyway, it's
Actually,
really
that was a staff pick. An early
it's
staff pick, I
really
think.
it's really mind blowing, really cool. I wanted to say thanks to him. So if you're on Letterboxd, I don't know, like, I mean, I can see this and I don't have an account. So the list is called Bloody Good Horror Main Features. So I assume there's just some kind of search function you can get to it from there. And honestly, it would be kind of a cool way.
I mean,
if you have a
we
bunch.
could probably tweet it out while we're sitting here. Jeff.
Yeah. That's a thing we could do.
Do you have it? You guys have it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not paying attention.
If
to you
you
guys, I
have a
could do it.
bunch of streaming services, and like you're looking for just like a random movie, this kind of sweet list to just like flip around and be like, oh, I forgot about that. I'm gonna check that out. So.
Does Letterboxd connect all the streaming services?
No, I'm just saying like you could use it as a reference to give you suggestions if you're blanking on what to watch.
It's almost as if
It
we
should,
have
right?
an application called Killer Flicks that does tell you whether or not a movie is streaming on
Yeah.
Amazon.
Yeah.
It is almost like that, Mark.
Almost. Hey Joe.
Yes, sir.
Wow. Okay.
I'm with you, Mark.
Thanks,
Joe.
John.
Pour some sugar on me, Joe.
Mm.
What are we drinking tonight while we review The Blackcoat's Daughter?
I feel like I need to take my top off. It's going to be that kind of conversation.
Stick my dick in the mashed potatoes.
I don't know how to explain this, but the Blackcoat's daughter, this young lass who apparently was not in any of the Harry Potter films, finds herself stranded at this this Catholic boarding school, I guess you would call it.
Sure.
I'm not going to go through the whole backstory, and I don't want to give anything away, but one of the more interesting points of this is she's there with sort of two house mothers that she is informed. Apparently, the rumor is that they worship the devil. So in honor of those sweet ladies, I picked a beer from the fine folks at Four Hands Brewing Company out in St. Louis, Missouri. And this is a coffee stout that they call the Devil's Invention.
Ooh.
Fun fact, I didn't realize this until I was reading about this beer, but they call it the Devil's Invention because apparently that was one of the early nicknames for coffee, the bitter invention of Satan.
Wow.
Invention by who? Like who was calling it that?
Well, I gotta admit, like.
Well, think about it
didn't-
this way. It grows in like Central American countries. It probably didn't come to the U.S. until a certain period, and then you got, all these
Europe, yeah.
Puritans getting.
Yeah, and I've got to imagine, like in Days of Yore, like when you first tried coffee, and all of a sudden you get like jittery and stuff. Like you got to be concerned about like what the hell's
Like,
going on there.
Days of Yarn, is that like a knitting club?
I was, I
Days-
like, I
Yorn.
thought we were gonna let that go. But
No, I
okay.
definitely said Yorn.
There's no N on the
Yeah,
end of
but
it, Joe.
Yore, it's Y-O-R-E.
It's your.
No, it's Yorn, guys. Trust me.
The R is backwards.
Yeah,
You're right.
there's an
It's more
umlaut
satanic.
in there. But anywho, this is a chocolate
The
stout.
R is backwards. It's like a saw sequel.
This is a coffee stout, which I think I've talked about before. It's probably like my favorite style of beer, and this one is super good. Obviously, big coffee flavor in this, but there's like a nice balance from those roasted malts of like chocolate, and like sort of like a toasty flavor. It's very good. Like anything, Four Hands puts out some really good beers. I know I've done a couple of their other ones. I think their peanut butter stout a few episodes back. So if you can get their hands on their stuff, I wholeheartedly suggest it. This one comes in at about 7% alcohol, so
Ooh.
it's up there, but it also has coffee in it. So I've got to assume you can drink like, a couple kegs of this and still be fine to go pick up the kids from the soccer
There
practice.
it is. I was waiting
God.
for it.
The caffeine in the coffee negates the alcohol, so pretty
think-
much
Yeah.
there's no limit. There's no limit to what you can do.
balances you out.
I'm pretty sure that's how that works. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Fourhandsbrewery.com is their website, and check this one out and anything else of theirs you can track down.
All right. Thank you for that, Joe.
Thank you.
Splendid as always. That's a beer recommendation, something you get here every week on the show from Mr. Joe. It's
Yep.
time. Let's take a break and review the Blackcoat's Daughter.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. Fuck the prime time, bitch. Main feature.
We're back. I'm back. We're back. Schnars is back. Show's
I don't know
ready to
why,
go.
but the way like the new Skype has like you guys set up, like John's face is like just like straight in the camera, like almost like he's
Oh,
dry
really? You
humping.
guys have weird like Mac. You guys have that weird Mac Skype, right? That's all weird.
Yeah, I have mine. I keep it in a back window, so I like don't have to look at your faces too big.
Are you kidding? Come on.
No, well,
It's half the
it then
beauty of
has
the
like
show.
a pop out window.
Oh,
So.
I just yeah. If they ever update like this one, like mine, well, the show, I don't know what the hell we're gonna do. It's gonna mess my whole mojo up here.
It's weird because it's owned by Microsoft. Like you would think you'd be getting the most up to date version.
I mean,
right?
the
My
way it
question
is, honestly, the way it is right now is exactly how I want it to be. Like, I wouldn't really change much about it. So I don't.
when are we going to invest in green screens is what I want to know.
Ooh.
It's an interesting idea.
Honestly,
It's not crazy.
we could set them up pretty cheap. Pretty cheap.
Yeah, I'm willing to consider it. Let's discuss after the show.
Okay. All right, guys. John
I didn't
Schnars.
even tell you what I wanted to put on my green screen.
Yes, Eric.
It's been a tough. I was gonna say week, but really like a tough few months for like words and what words mean, and like the truth of words. You know, it's been like we've been going through a phase.
You're going deep here, dude. You're going deep.
It's been a weird week, man.
It's we're in some interesting times right now.
So I'd
would
like
say.
to maybe this is the new Schnars thing. Like I'd like to recast you as a champion of words in a time when words have no meaning. You're here to save us from this just awful existence.
Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna.
I like this. I'm on board.
All right, Duke Power. Let's do it. Please bring us the word of the day. Still got it in there.
I feel like you sandbagged me a little bit. I feel like you sandbagged me.
Got it. Fuck you,
Oh, Eric.
John. That
Today's
was the
word.
most. That was the most positive thing I've ever said about Duke on this show.
No, it was good. It was good. Today's word is guillotine. Well, some political overtones for you there. That's Guillotine. The guillotine is a machine with a heavy blade sliding vertically in grooves used for beheading people. Yada, yada, yada. I mean, I think most people probably know what this is. I will add there is a surgical instrument that is called a guillotine. So it is not just the head
What is-
choppy offy thingy.
How does that work?
It's actually the device that they use to remove tonsils, apparently.
Huh.
So, yeah, there you go. So most people, I mean, are probably familiar with the guillotine for its role in the French Revolution.
Let them eat cake.
Yes, that led to some guillotining.
Fuck me blue.
That also led to a Kirsten Dunst movie.
Also true. The word guillotine though actually just comes from a person's name. It's a guy's name. He was a doctor. He was a physician, who was the one who in 1789 recommended this device. I can't remember if he designed it or not, or if he just sort of like had seen it somewhere and then suggested it for use in sort of more humane executions.
Oh, it appears you have a cold. Let me get this device I've invented.
Yeah, they were, I guess, more humane than like swinging a massive sword, Game of Thrones style. It
Spoiler
also
alert, John.
led to, well, I mean,
I'm on episode 2. All right, I'm taking my time.
I didn't say who, but yeah, it also led to sort of the mechanization of beheadings, political assassination, if you will.
And tied into this movie.
Yeah, there's some beheadings in this movie.
Okay. Yeah.
It's
a little more like primal. Let's call it.
Yeah, I think that's a good description.
So yeah.
Less mechanized.
John Schnarr's champion of the people's words. You heard it here first, folks.
I'm here for the people.
Bringing back meaning to your lives. John, tell me about the Blackcoat Starter. Do you know anything about this movie beyond just what happens in it?
You know what? I do know a little bit about this movie. Some of which I had read about before. I can't remember if we were talking about on the show before or if this was something that came up on Fist Called Cinema. So if folks are current there, maybe you could let me know where I talked about this. I talk about things a lot. So one of the most interesting things about this film is it is the directorial debut of a guy named Osgood Perkins. He is... I guess known as an actor.
That's a pretty cool name. I was gonna say.
Well, you may best know him as the son of Anthony Perkins, the star of Psycho, and he actually first acting.
That's
role,
interesting, John, because I know him as dorky David Kidney from Legally Blonde.
yeah. But his first acting role was as I believe, like young teen, like a 13 or 12 or something like that, playing the version of his father in like either Psycho 2 or 3. It was the one in there.
Psycho 2.
There you go. So yeah, so kind of an interesting dude. Has sort of a history with the genre, if you will, or a legacy. But yeah, this was his directorial debut. It actually came out in 2015. It did kind of the festival circuit, and it got picked up by A24, actually, who is kind of making a nice little name for themselves alongside Blumhouse as kind of the art housey side of horror these days. This was originally released when it played the festival circuit under the name February. And then I guess they changed the name when they wanted to release it. And then it did VOD and limited theatrical earlier this year.
I do often feel like stabbing people in February, so I guess I get it.
Well, I think there was like an opening title card that kind of like says February, like it. I don't know if it was the title card or if it was like indicating that was like the month that it was taking place in. It was sort of weird. But yeah. So he wrote and directed this. This was like the Osgood Perkins show. I mean, it's funny because his credits are like super limited. I mean, he had no other directorial credits, very limited writing credits, and he had been in a bunch of stuff. Like he was in Secretary, if you guys have ever seen that movie.
Have I?
I mean, but like otherwise, like a bunch of random. I mean, Legally Blonde, he was like some randomly named person. So yeah, pretty interesting kind of lineage. The movie is I think, as Joe mentioned, set at a all-girls boarding school in or around the capital region. I don't know.
John.
I actually wasn't definitely New York somewhere, but I didn't recognize the names. Joe, could you pinpoint
it's
it?
like if first of all, I looked this up because I got excited, but it's a made-up town. but it's closer to like the New Hampshire border.
Bramford.
Like where the hell does that even
So
go?
that'd be
But
like
it's
northeastern.
yeah,
like-
it's far up there because Portsmouth is in New Hampshire, which is where they were like eventually trying to get to.
Yeah. So yeah, it's set in upstate New York at this boarding school.
God
It is.
damn it, John.
Well,
It's not upstate, John.
wait, what? It's not.
Let's
It's like
call it-
northeast.
Let's call it the Adirondacks. That's what I would.
All
call
right, all right. So
Fucking racist.
it's above New York City. I'm fairly certain. It's north.
I'm rethinking my whole People's Champion. role
Oh,
for
come on. It's so it's set at this all-girls boarding school where they're like basically getting picked up. It's the end of a term and it's the winter. I guess it could be Christmas break, although the name February kind of like, throws that off a little bit. But in any event, the girls are sort of like all being sent home. They're waiting for their parents. And there are two girls whose parents, either aren't coming or don't show up. One of them is named Kat. She is the younger. She was the daughter on
Mad Men.
Mad Men. I was gonna say that show about advertising.
She
so
kind
you
of
have
always,
Kat.
she kind of always looked like she wanted to stab somebody in that show too.
Yeah, we'll come back to her. I'm not like bought in to her as an actress, but she is pretty interesting in this movie. And then the other woman is named Rose. Rose is sort of like an older, student, whatever. She's like a junior or senior, I guess. And she kind of reveals to a friend in a sequence early on that she actually thinks she's pregnant. She like has a secret boyfriend that she sneaks off to see, and she reveals to Kat that she actually lied to her parents. I think she might even have told the like headmaster or whatever. She told her parents the wrong day to pick her up so that she would have to stay back and like would have this opportunity to meet up with this guy. So there's like a little drama going on in her life. She's gonna see him and like kind of like tell, I guess like she's like breaking up with him. They are going to be left basically at this deserted school with these two women, sort of like house mothers, or I guess that's what Joe called them, but who are kind of gonna just
Put
like,
that on me, John.
They're nuns.
well, yeah, but they weren't wearing like nun outfits.
They were known as nuns, I'm pretty sure.
All right. Either way, so they're going to be left there for like a night or two. I mean, it's somewhat awkward because we don't know where Kat's parents are. Like literally she has a dream to open the film of like her father shows her a car and it's like crushed or like had been in a wreck. But other than that, we don't really know what the deal is. They're just not there and they haven't shown up, but she was theoretically expecting them. The film is sort of like interestingly shot in that, or sequenced in that it's essentially told in three parts, with the first part being titled Rose, and it's sort of like told kind of from her perspective, although jumping around and kind of showing the other characters. Sort of, I guess about 20 minutes into the film, give or take, we're introduced to the third character, whose name is Joan. We see her sort of like arriving at a bus station. And she's sort of like outside the realm or the setting of the school. She meets up with James Remar, who's like, sort of creepy, but also just like paternalistic and like wanting to help. We see that she has like a wristband, like she's just escaped or been let out of a hospital.
He is so good. We can talk about it, but he's so good at writing that line where you really can't tell if he's trying to help her or if there's some or if there's some creep shit going on. You can't tell.
Yeah. So I mean, so we essentially have Joan now hooked up with James Remar and his wife Bill and Linda. They're riding. It's actually revealed that they're riding toward Bramford, or they're like driving to Bramford. They're gonna take her. She, as I think Joe mentioned, she wants to go to Portsmouth, which is a real town, I guess. But so that's kind of like the setup. You have these three. Back at the school where it's basically just Kat and Rose, there's just like weird shit happening. It starts very slowly. The film is like very sort of contemplative in its pacing. There's a lot of just like long shots of scenery. But there is kind of like an unsettling element, or sort of like there's just like weird stuff going on. And basically toward, I guess it's the end of the first act you would call it, or maybe like closer toward the middle of the film, Rose actually is going to bed and hears some stuff going on in the basement, or through the pipes, and she like goes down to investigate, which, all right. And she sees Kat basically on the floor doing like this weird kind of like bowing yoga-ish, almost like she's worshiping toward the heater in the basement. And that she pulls her out of there, takes her up to her room, puts her to bed. But that really starts to like spike the weirdness that's going on. I don't know if I want to go too much further.
No, please do.
I don't want you to. So that's
Okay.
perfect. You went through your music twice, and then like the same amount of silence. So
I'm sorry, guys.
I think you nailed it. Hey, Mark, what did you think?
He actually played a full episode of Game of Thrones in the background while you were still going.
What did you think of this movie, Mark?
Yeah, I really liked it. This was kind of a sneaky movie. I feel like I'd heard the title a lot, but I didn't actually know a ton about it before I watched it. I think that John's point about the pacing is a good one. I think it has very methodical pacing, but it doesn't really drag too much. And I think ultimately the conclusion's pretty satisfying. Without giving too much away, there's a little bit of a supernatural aspect to this, but it's so subtle that it just makes me think that, like, I don't know why more movies like this don't exist. It's just I think subtle is a good word really to describe it, is that
it's directed really well. A lot of directors are not good. This guy is
well,
good.
and he also wrote it, right? Like he clearly had this like very specific vision that he wanted to push out.
Yeah, and I just think, and there's some really, I mean, for being such a kind of low key movie, there's a lot of really memorable shots and moments in this movie. So I don't know if it's like amazing, but I thought it was really enjoyable for what it was.
Yeah, it's weird. It doesn't like blow you away, but yet when it's over, you're kind of like, shit, man. Do you know what I mean? It's like this. It kind of gets, like you said, it like gets under your skin in a weird way. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Mark. I think it starts super slow, but like immediately there's this tension, and it kind of starts with this scene where what the heck's her name? The main character, Kat, is in the office of the head priest or whatever you want to call him, and like she's pretty. I guess there's like a recital that's happening that night, and she starts like grilling him as to why he's not going to be there. So like automatically you're kind of like something ain't going on right up in Kat's head. So like you kind of had this tension like as soon as that starts, that like something.
Did that scene ever resolve though? Because like he didn't seem alarmed by the way she was talking to him, but she was talking to him in such an oddly familiar tone that I was
I got the
confused.
impression that's kind of her deal. Like he's like well acquainted with the way that she acts. But, knowing that this is a horror movie or, whatever you want to call it, like, I think from there on, you're kind of like, what's going to happen with this gal? Like something shit's about to go down. And it does take a while, like, to actually get there. But when it does, like, I think the payoff is really, really well done, which I think is rare in a lot of movies like this. Like usually, and I'm not like specifically naming him, but like a Ty West film, I feel like is kind of like this also, where you've got like an hour, 45-minute movie and an hour and 35 minutes in, finally something happens, and it's like this last 10 minutes. This
is almost like a less patience trying version of House of the Devil in terms of how it's based.
But I think like the way it's done, and like I like the way that they kind of split it into 3 sections. Like I agree with Eric. Like the directing was really well done. And
well,
I think that's what
Ty West is attempting always the same thing that this movie does, which is to imbue mundane moments with like tension through directing and scene setting. But this guy's just like knocking it out of the park, whereas Ty West sometimes really kind of does it right. John, I don't know how this turned into Ty West bashing, but Schnars, what did you think of this?
I love this.
Yeah.
I actually was pretty excited for this. I'd seen the trailer.
You sent us those pictures of yourself.
I had
fully excited.
My HR wants to talk with you.
Come on, guys. I had seen the trailer for this like a year ago. Like I said, it had done the festival circuit a while back. So I was pretty excited. A couple of folks, on Slack had been talking about it. Like I think Sophie had seen it, and I think there's a review on the site. I haven't checked, but yeah. So like there was like I was interested already, and like there had been some like positive, anecdotal reviews. And so I went in like with kind of high expectations, and everything you guys said is true. Like I think it's incredibly well directed. He just has he had an idea, he had a vision for what he wanted this to be, and he was very controlled about what happened. I mean, it feels very like assured in the way that he goes about it. He's got some really good talent here. So like the actresses, there's sort of the three main actresses, and even James Remar, Creepster, all really solid.
And like young, I mean the young cast especially, but also Dexter's dad. I don't know his name.
Yeah,
but like people who. This is a small movie, and these are people who can do bigger movies. So it's very interesting that you had all this talent sort of coalesce around this project.
Yeah, for sure. I think I didn't mention, but the third woman is Emma Roberts, who I think Scream Queens is probably like her big thing, but yeah, they're just all solid, and it's really slow, but I think as Mark mentioned, like it never, you don't like lose patience with it, because even while it's slow, there's like this unsettlingness to it. When it ramps, my feeling is like the last 30 minutes are pretty goddamn crazy.
Intense, yeah. Well, and that's what Tarantino does really well, right? It's like Tarantino scripts, you read them and it's just a bunch of people talking, and then you watch these scenes and you're like, oh, like the tension is just crazy.
Yeah. So and it's really, it almost is like the second half of the film. And maybe I'm just like misremembering sort of like the pacing, but there's the like dinner sequence. It's like, which is like you guys remember what I'm talking about, where they're saying grace, and like after that it's basically like the whole rest of the film is just
some of the scary scenes are like these little subtle scenes where the two girls are talking in the dorm room, and the older girl is just getting a sense that this younger girl might be like imbalanced or something, and she looks at her and she says, "You had your chance" or something, and I was like, "Oh!" And she like goes over back to her room and like puts a dresser in front of the door before she goes to sleep, and I'm like, yeah, I probably would have done the same thing. That was pretty weird.
Yeah, they did such a smart job with the way that this is the setting, right? Like to your point, what's so freaky about it, and they don't overplay it, they don't hammer it, but they're at this deserted ass school.
It's scary.
They're kids.
The dorm itself is kind of scary. It's like this big 70s like industrial like college dorm kind of place. Like there's nothing warm about it, you know what I mean?
No, and there's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
It's like winter, like it's fucking freezing out.
So yeah, I think like the genius of this movie and the guy who directed it is that if you just like looked at a script for this movie, it would be like 10 pages long and you wouldn't understand what was happening. And like 4 pages would be stabbing. And you'd just be like, what the fuck? But when you watch it, like, I don't even know that I would call it slow in the beginning. I mean, it's slow in like the traditional sense of plot development, but it is so intense and creepy from like the get-go. But like in a subtle way. There's nothing happening. You're not seeing monsters, but you just are getting this. It has to do with the way, specifically in the scenes at the school, humans are talking to each other in a way that humans don't really talk to each other, and it's really unsettling. But not in any kind of way that you can identify right away. So you're just like, well, I guess I just have to like hang out and find out what the F is going on here, you know?
If you've ever been at Thanksgiving at my parents' house, it's pretty much this is it. Like,
I was gonna say, I thought it was more just like, oh, this is like a religious boarding school. Like,
no. I found the conversation between the girl and the priest to be so unsettling because she is talking to him in a way, in this like very forward, familiar way that seemed wrong for the scenario.
She's talking in the way like a mother would guilt a son into like not coming home for Christmas.
It's bizarre. Like it's so weird, and I just like it made me uncomfortable. You know, like the acting talent's really great. I think that Dexter's dad, like he actually kind of steals the show for me in this because there are moments where he is so menacing, and then there are moments where he's just kind of this naive puppy dog kind of character, and it's just like the way it flips on a dime is really fascinating. And ultimately for me, like the reason why I loved it so much is it did something that it's been a while since I felt this, and like this movie scared me. I was like laying in bed next to my wife who was sleeping, watching this last night in the dark, and at some point I literally went like this. Like I looked around the dark room, or like the door was a little ajar and there was some light on the other side, and I was just like, like I just got.
I thought maybe you like put your hands over your eyes and you were like peeking through them.
It was awesome, honestly. Like like I don't think that I'm not like real world scared, but it was cool to be able to like suspend my disbelief for a little while and get kind of let something kind of take me in that much to feel that way. And then like it all ends, like the ending is crazy intense. There's some of the like it's not even, I mean, it is graphic, but not the most graphic we've seen. But the stabbing in this movie, there's this extended like stabbing sequence that is just effed up. Like just
right, it's not like gory graphic. It's like realistic graphic. It's so drawn out.
Super brutal.
It is so clinical and matter of fact and cold, and you're just like, and they just there's no cutting. There's no quick cuts or like over the top sound effects. It's just like a person just being like.
And there's not even like a lot of screaming either. It's just like it's just stabbing.
It's got like the same sort of monotone like voice to it, like all the way through the movie, and then this just kind of comes out and like specifically, and I don't want to spoil too much, but like there's one part where the character like jumps out and starts stabbing this girl, and like it's just so brutal and like uncomfortable to watch.
And then it all ends with like the credits come up and this song comes on that they actually played in the beginning. That's like, the only way I could describe it is if it's like if Tiny Tim remade the Butter song, but it was called like a Blackcoat's Daughter, and he's singing some weird shit about like holy water, and literally that's not. I listened to it, and then I turned the movie off, and I was like, I don't have to go to the bathroom. I'll just pee in the bed tonight. That's fine.
I will just pee in my flannels.
So anyway, I know some people are like, "Oh, I can't be scared by a movie," but I don't feel above that at this point in my life, and I was pretty excited to kind of
no, it's definitely. I mean, I agree. I was
it's also rare. It's also rare that I properly watch a horror movie, which is like in the dark, in like good circumstances.
Yeah, I had the experience of being like not like scared. I'm not like a total pussy like Eric, but
that's fine. That's fine.
No, but no, I did have the that kind of like unsettling experience. It's just it's so off-putting at certain times. I mean, all of the stuff with Emma Roberts and James Remar, like there's a sequence where he goes to they like stop at a like hotel, and he like knocks on her door. She's in the shower. God. She opens the door
with her
and
towel
he goes
on.
in and sits there with her in her towel for like, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
And they have this crazy exchange where you think he's like pressuring her to have sex with him. And you think it's going to happen for like 2 seconds, and it's all just like, it's mostly eye contact and framing, and then it passes and you're like, oh my God, that was what
not only that, like wasn't she asleep in the car? Like I got the impression like he brought her into that hotel room like while she was sleeping. Like it's like pretty much she gets picked up as a hitchhiker and then wakes up in a hotel room. Like it's unnerving.
Yeah. And she's like, where's your wife? And he's like, she's asleep.
Yeah. It's like
yeah.
He's big too, right? Like he's physically imposing, and Emma Roberts is like this slight lady, and it's
she's
like so the whole juxtaposition is just really, really unsettling.
I'm just looking here. The credited the person credited with music is named Elvis Perkins. So it does look like he is the other son of Anthony Perkins.
Elvis Osgood Bartholomew Perkins, you mean?
Yeah. But it's funny because he's an American folk rock artist, so he must have done that final song. Because it does have like a little like folk rocky weirdness to it.
I was like, this is. I don't
know. This guy looks like a real douchebag.
I know we've kind of like hit on it a couple times. I just like the cinematography and some of the just like the choices that this Oz Perkins made around some of the shots. I mean, there's a sequence where they ask the one girl, Rose, to go shovel the like driveway or like the sidewalk or whatever, and it's like this long shot. It is complete. It's just like almost like illogically framed. Like from like a pure like aesthetics of filmmaking standpoint, you'd be like, this is kind of like just, it's not a great shot, but at the same time, like it has the intended effect of just being off-putting.
It puts you
she's
off.
Like,
yeah, it's off-putting.
Yeah, she's like, it's just weighted so weirdly because she's at such an extreme end of the screen, and you see her like kind of working with the shovel, but like centered in the screen is just like a tree, and then like I don't know, it's very strange.
It's worth pointing out too, like, you know, how successful it is that this is basically a possession movie, which I could give two Fs about. Most possession movies. I've been ranting about them for like literally half a decade now, and here comes along this one that's kind of a stealth possession movie that I loved, and it all just has to do with going in a non-traditional route with the narrative and doing things that I hadn't really seen before.
They explain nothing, right? Like they just like take for granted that like you, well, it's not even take for granted. It's like they just don't feel like they have to beat you over the head with like rules of the possession and yada yada.
And there are no jump scares. There's no like weird. They're just like, I mean, maybe there are some like subtle scares, but there's nothing that like there's no screaming out from around the corner.
I mean, the interesting thing is like you don't realize it's a possession until 3 minutes before the possession is actually sort of done with.
And there's kind of no cipher for the audience, which I think is another thing that makes you feel uneasy. Like there's nobody that gives you a grounding and makes you feel safe, and because everybody just kind of has their own agenda and is pretty unlikable for most of it, or just unrelatable or something, you know?
Yeah. You're not, because even Rose, who I guess is like kind of the central character, she, you know,
is that
she's the one.
Is that Emma Roberts?
No, the one who's like pregnant.
Yeah, but she's like mean.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
She's like nasty to Kat. Like Kat's clearly like effed up in the head.
I think it's pretty
Joan
clear.
is like also kind of bizarre.
Yeah, I think
nobody wants Kat around.
It's pretty clear that she's possessed like early on. I think based on using the context, the rest of the context of the world.
Yeah. No.
Sure. No. I wasn't like. I think the open question that you could put out there is like, does Oz Perkins, like whether or not, because I think it's like pretty clear, like in the narrative of the film, like she is possessed. Like, but I think you could also ask, like, did he intend for it to be kind of like open-ended? Like, is this a real possession? Because there is like a sequence where
the bed sequence seems super like it's something you couldn't do.
I guess that's true. There's like some physical stuff.
She could have been trained as a contortionist. You don't know.
It's true.
Yeah. I was thinking like you never see anything supernatural except from her perspective. But to your point, there is like and even like the way she moves when Rose sees her in the basement is like, it was so well done because you see it for literally a split second, but it was like just unnatural enough that you're like, what?
It looked like they were maybe like running it in reverse or something. Like it kind of had that feeling to it.
Yeah.
She was in a Tool video.
Yes. Yeah, basically. Essentially,
yeah. It was just that sequence in particular was very well deployed because
the tension as she's descending into the basement and weaving through those rooms is so tight.
Well, and to that point, literally nothing has happened. Like there's like been some awkward conversations. There's some like kind of unsettling shot selection, but then it's like, oh no, here's like some wacky shit happening in the basement, and you're just like, whoa, what the hell? So
wacky. There's slide whistles.
So
that's that.
So it's a good movie. Pretty.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. Can I get a ruling, Schnars? So, according to Joe, this didn't get a wide release until 2017. So, are we counting this as a 2017er?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Okay. The rule is it has to like be available sort of like commercially in the year, and like, yeah, it was theatrical this year. It got VOD this year. So
Joe, what are my top 3 right now?
Let's take a look at it right now. You've got a top 5 right now. You've got Get Out at number 1, then Split, then Life, then Kong Skull Island, then Belko Experiment.
I think you mean Skunk Island, Joe.
Skunk Island, where he fights a regular sized gorilla.
Let's bold move here, guys. I'm ready to make some moves tonight. Let's put this at number 3 and slide everything down.
Oh, so Split will stay at number 2.
Yes.
Joe doesn't know how to do that.
Split was really good. Split was good.
Don't you fucking dare. I know how to use my goddamn Google Docs. All right.
Thank you, Joe.
And then you still have the Devil's Candy at number 10.
Yes, yeah, leave that there.
I'm just noticing. So Linda, who I guess was like James Remar's wife in this. Did you guys know that was Lauren Holly?
Yes, I recognized her from NCIS, John, Naval Criminal Investigative Services.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Revealing so many things about Eric right now.
I used to work at a station that aired it, so I got pretty familiar with.
Like, I don't know that I've seen her in anything since Dumb and Dumber, but
Yeah, she was on that show for a while. I don't think she's on anymore.
she was a delight. Yeah, she was done in 2015 apparently.
You didn't see What Women Want, John? I'm just reading her IMDb. I don't even know. I don't think I've ever.
Yeah, I'm like scrolling down to be
I
like,
did see that.
where was the last thing that I saw her in?
All right,
Oh, the
guys.
Chum Scrubber.
She's rumored to play Ida in the upcoming film The Juggler. So
Oh, about the Juggalos.
She's like pretty
Oh,
good. She's pretty good here. Like it's a
definitely.
meaty, it's not meaty in terms of like her overall impact on the film, but like the emotional stuff she has to work with, she does pretty good.
Oh, John, you probably saw her in How to Plan an Orgy in a Small Town.
I have seen Down Periscope. Have you guys seen that?
Oh, yeah, that movie's great, actually.
Yeah. It's funny. There was like a time where I think you could have made like an argument. Maybe she had a pretty up and coming career, and now it's just like, no, not really.
Well, yeah,
I guess
20 years ago, you could have made that.
Yeah, it was
and
a
then
while.
Well,
It was
yeah,
a long
she
time
was
ago.
on All My Children for I guess a little while. So
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Would you
we're good?
recommend this, John,
yes,
Mark,
yes.
Joe?
For sure, yeah.
Love it. Let's do it. Fan mail.
Getting some really strange readings in here.
A missing crew
This place is a tomb.
DJ, where are you?
and infinite evil.
This ship has been beyond the boundaries of our universe. Who knows what it's brought back with it?
Vacate! I want off this ship.
I can't leave. She won't let you.
Event Horizon. Rated R.
Hi, this is Tom Savini, and you're listening to BloodyGoodHorror.com.
Send your emails to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or hit us up on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. And don't forget to pick up back episodes of the show at podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com.
And we are back.
BloodyGoodHorror.com podcast.
We're back. The Bloody Good Horror Page podcast. That's the Wayback Machine. You think we're in that, Mark? You think we're in the Wayback Machine?
I just want to know if we're still in the web ring.
Oh,
Do you
you're
still-
definitely in the Wayback
This is a
Machine.
great
My
question.
shitty blogs from like 20 years
This
ago.
is a
are
great
still in-
question, Mark. Do you have that CD that has the old versions of the site on it? Because I wanted to start uploading like some screenshots to for patrons of like the old shit.
I did have it at some point. It's probably small enough
Do me a
that I
favor and try to find it because I'd like to get it into our Google like cloud account too, just so it's like saved somewhere.
Well, it's probably small enough that I could drop it on our G drive because back in the day,
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
It took 18 minutes. Hi.
Hello.
Say hi.
Yeah, I said hi.
All right. You brush your teeth?
Okay.
We have a bunch of terabytes on there, Mark. So I am positive there's enough room because when we made the site, I didn't even know what a terabyte was. So.
Well, right. That's what I'm saying is that around the time we made the site, it still took 17 minutes to download a picture on AOL. So
Exactly. All right, guys. So once again, shout out to Chase TX for his letterbox list. info@bloodygoodhorror.com. This is a fun one. Thanks for the Candyman versus Brock Lesnar shirt. This is Jason in Pasadena. You cannot truly appreciate how amazingly bizarre this shirt is until you have seen it in person. Any plans on a hashtag get a daughter shirt in time for Father's Day?
Aw.
I thought about it, and I was like, "There's no way for that not to be creepy because it really needs in order to be sweet. It needs the context that you just can't give everybody you see."
I mean, just imagine that there's like we have like a T Public store full of horror related T-shirts, and then a shirt that just very plainly says "Get a daughter."
I appreciate the sentiment, but I don't think it'll work.
In that vein, my daughter just told me, "Don't tell mommy that I came down here, and if you forget that, I will punish you."
Eric was 100% not listening to you because he would have laughed.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
Joe made it funny and you missed it.
I was looking ahead at the next email. Sorry, Joe. I apologize.
Yeah.
This is from Skylar, aka Skizbot. He says, in preparation for Alien Covenant, I rewatched Prometheus this weekend for the first time since I saw it in the theater. I recall being disappointed when I first saw it. Like many people, I was expecting xenomorphs and a much more direct prequel to Alien. Rewatching it again with a fresh perspective and no expectations, I was able to simply enjoy it as its own film. As a standalone sci-fi movie within the same overall universe, it's a gorgeous, awesome movie. Are there any movies you guys didn't really like at all the first time but ended up loving later?
Oh, jeez. I feel like I could have used a heads up on this question.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Cool. info@bloodygoodhorror.com.
Maybe something will pop up. Everyone keep thinking.
Is the email address. What's on Twitter?
We keep track of 2 hashtags on the Twitter. One of them is for patrons. If you are listening to one of our back episodes and you hear something that you think is worth pointing out, tweet it to us with the hashtag BGH Classics, and we will read it. And these are always really funny. This first one is from JHar0. Eric said, but then Control S because he had to save his work. Then I said, well, you can Control S my D then. Episode 249. Lords of Salem.
Yeah, I think we were talking about Rob Zombie's writing process.
Yeah, something like that.
Like I think the joke was like something like "Flipper baby," period.
Terrible. That seems like a joke I would make like 8 years ago. I'm glad I made it like maybe a year and a half ago.
I don't know. I think that works.
Still got it. Next one is from JHar0. Eric said, literally the first time I've seen 3D dog balls in a movie, episode 257, Pacific Rim. I can't remember the context of that at all.
Pacific Rim
dog
balls.
There must have been a dog somewhere. Somebody had a dog, and then you could see their balls, and the movie was in 3D. So.
Oh, yeah. All right.
I mean, I understand like the words that you said. I'm saying, was that in Pacific Rim? I don't remember.
It must have been. I mean, I didn't just make it up, John.
I think there was a dog. I think the like all-American soldiery dad and son had a dog.
Somebody had a dog. I'm sure of it.
All right. Well,
doesn't that seem like a movie that have like a cute little dog? Somebody would have a cute little dog sidekick.
I'm thinking of bulldog with gigantic balls.
Yeah, floating in the hot tub.
Van Wilder, Joe.
Maybe that's probably usually am.
Yeah. Next one is from Skewered Head 79, episode 300, the appearance of vodka schnars.
The elusive
beloved by all.
Truly legendary. Well, I don't know.
I would argue that one, John, but
it's like getting a foil Pokemon. Like it's very rare, and you hold on to it, but not too. You can't squeeze it too hard, or it'll slip through your fingers and out of your life forever. You know.
I mean, I love me some vodka schnars, but I think that vodka schnars was outshined by steak dinner and red wine schnars.
Oh Lord, I don't know what that schnars was, but
Both?
That was
yeah.
He came from a planet whose only language is just slurring sounds together.
Mostly screaming at Casey in the middle of Manhattan in like 20-degree weather to keep walking after 2 miles.
And then he took us.
It was chilly. You gotta keep moving.
Honestly, Casey and I taking a cab back to the hotel after dinner was literally the best decision I've ever made in my entire life.
No, I don't think so. We had a great night.
Yeah.
Next one's from Skizbot. Eric, she's looking for dudes on the net for sex stuff, like you did in the 90s. Episode 373 regarding urban legend.
Yes, urban legend. Yeah, because Danielle Harris in that movie is like a goth chick who's like on AIM chat, like meeting dudes and then bringing them back to the dorm.
But hold on. This is an interesting test of my earlier proclamation. I am fairly certain we don't have an episode on urban legend, so you must have just been
came
talking
up.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We might have. It's like sometimes he talks about Dawson's Creek.
It may have
he
just
talks
been
about urban legend.
I mean, it may have been another Danielle Harris movie. It might have been Stakeland.
Sure, it's totally possible.
There's no way to ever know.
You could have just been on a fucking Eric tilt, so who knows?
Episode 373 was The Purge Anarchy, so none of our theories are true.
There you go.
No idea.
Boom.
No idea.
That was correct.
3 remains. Okay, last one is from Mr. Finn 607. Eric wonders if movie guide people ever rub one out after reviews. And then I said, if anyone's going to suffer through upper male nudity, it's going to be me.
Yeah. It really, like, they really seem to work themselves up into a froth every time. So it just makes it makes me wonder.
Do you mean the people writing the reviews,
yes,
or the people reading the reviews?
No, the people writing them. They get like it's like the crescendo. You know what it is? It's because there's no punctuation, so it's like one long extended build to a release.
Nothing really lights my pilot light quite like moral relativity.
Yeah.
You know.
Problems solved through prayer.
No doubt. No doubt.
Oh, Joe. Please move on, Mark.
Jesus Christ.
I got more.
No, I want Joe to do this more so BC can make a bunch of gifts.
Moral compass.
Okay, Jesus Christ. All right. We also use the hashtag AskBGH if you want to ask us questions about anything. This first one's from Drop Your Linen. She says, how come Casey no longer refers to old TNA rich horror films as booby slashers like he did in episode 89 Sorority Row?
Oh.
Yeah, that's, I mean, for some of those movies, that's literally all that they were about. So that's fair.
I think we've all kind of matured in our age too. I went back and read some of my news from like 6 years ago. Dear God, like just.
What if you took old vintage news posts and then posted them again with your modern day commentary?
I am embarrassed to even have my name like involved in some of those things. Like everyone's like a broad and hot chick and just like everywhere. Like it's uncomfortable.
You're saying you were not woke yet.
No, I was definitely not hashtag.
Yeah, you hadn't gotten a daughter. You hadn't gotten a daughter.
Pre-woke.
He was asleep.
Yeah.
Straight up woke, son.
Right.
All right, next one is from MC Hunter 1990. Are horror and monster versus films going to be the next big trend? And who do you want to see on the big screen fighting? Hashtag Guar versus Kiss.
What is the first part of the question?
Hold on,
No, it's gone forever.
Why do you keep muting, Mark?
I keep muting because I mute when I click so that you don't hear it on the
I don't give a shit, bro. Just click. Because then when you come back, there's a delay and it clips your voice.
Jesus Christ, Eric.
Drive me crazy.
Right. Producing the show live on the air. This is
the
good.
questions were horror and monster films going to be the next big trend? Horror and monster versus films.
I mean, like, no, I would say they're not. It's never really going to be a trend, I would say.
No.
Is there enough content to make it a trend?
No.
I mean, there was back speaking of Eric's show talking about the early days of BGH. I feel like there have been rumors and people wanting movies like that since forever, and it really only ever happened in Freddy vs. Jason, and then they were like, okay, that was enough.
Well, Alien versus Predator. That's
sure. Okay.
There were
Freddy
two of those.
And then Alien versus Predator. Okay, so it happened twice.
It's funny with like Freddy versus Jason. I remember this. The specific feeling was like, holy shit! I can't believe they made that. And like, oh, it kind of did okay. I actually seem to remember it opened up bigger than they expected, but then kind of dropped off. But right around that area where you were like, well, there's no way they're ever gonna do this again. Like they kind of got away with doing it once and. The fans enjoyed it, but I
just don't think there's enough demand. Like Freddy and Jason are
the two.
Basically
Yeah.
It's like, a Brock Lesnar versus Candyman is like not gonna get a ton of, Candyman versus like Pinhead,
it'll sell some shirts. It
would be awesome if like 20 years from now they just remade Freddy versus Jason, but just without any context, just future Freddy versus Jason. I think that would be awesome.
Kids be so confused.
It'll happen, right? Like why not?
Yeah.
They're gonna keep digging those corpses up for 100 years.
Probably true.
Right? I mean, why
We
not?
did get Batman versus Superman. I mean, am I right? So
Sure did.
The movie wasn't great. It was
Wow,
alright.
wow.
I enjoyed it. It wasn't great.
I don't know. I remember you saying it was awesome when you
I
saw
know.
it.
I'm
So.
pretty sure.
It was fun.
3 thumbs up from Eric.
It was fun. It wasn't great.
All right, next one's from Skizbot. Have you ever been super starstruck by an actor or celeb you've met at a convention?
If anything, I feel like the conventions have
Dante
this,
from Clerks.
the conventions have the super opposite effect in that you see them as such like normal, mundane people that it's like, or you see them with nobody in line at their table, and you're just kind of like, oh, that's.
Or you see Linda Hamilton drunk on vodka gummy bears.
I
I
mean,
would say like that's the one that like I don't think I get starstruck, but to me like I'm more impressed with the ones that kind of hang out at night and like are actually like talking to people.
Slash, it makes me feel weird. Like I don't like like because you want to think of them as bigger stars, and if they actually were big stars, they wouldn't hang out with you after the convention.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily true. There's some people that can walk that line. I feel like it'd be more depressing if they were just off drinking at the bar by themselves
Like
and not hanging out with people.
Well, or in their room, like getting
You know,
blacked out, like...
oddly enough, like and this is before, definitely before the podcast, probably during like old BGH times, the time of the first men, Schnars, as they call it in the history books. Like the first time I ever met Tom Savini at a convention, I was actually pretty starstruck, and then he was like a dick to me, and I'm like, wow, that dude isn't very nice.
And every time you saw him, you're like, huh. Well, I know we've talked about this on the show multiple times, but this would be in and around the first version of the site when I met, or no, actually maybe it was when we were starting it up the second time, but when I met Serena Vincent, there's a really funny picture that Eric probably still has somewhere of just me making this ridiculous face.
That was the whole scenario was just insanely awkward to begin with, but
yeah, it wasn't even starstruck so much as it's just really weird to ask someone for a picture when you look at their table and it's like literally just all pictures of them naked. Can I get a nice photograph to show my mom?
Yeah, I like this one the best. Can you sign this one? Lovely girl. But yeah, I actually don't like. And now when we go to conventions, like on the occasions that it happens, I'll do like a loop around the celebrity part, but like I really don't give a shit. It's like the least interesting part of a convention to me. It's not why I'm there anymore. So, I did see Gangrel at Rock and Shock once. That was pretty sweet.
Nice.
Oh,
that dude's got fangs. That dude, like,
I'm pretty sure
legit has fangs.
I'm pretty sure he still has them.
Yeah, I mean he like probably got his teeth filed down.
Yeah,
because that's his deal.
He's like
cool, man.
He's like
that's great. Did he rise up out of the floor with like red lights on him?
He's like a combination between like a wrestling vampire and a lizard, sort of.
Wrestling vampire lizard.
Wrestling
Got
vampire lizard.
Next one's from Dead Air Jeff. Were you all aware that there's a Creep trilogy planned? Thoughts? #, Peach Fuzz lives.
I'm into it.
Hmm?
Why not?
Oh God.
I keep wanting to go back and watch the original. My wife won't watch it with me. She did the first time.
Oh my God! Why?
I mean, because we were watching the League and she really likes Mark Duplass, so I'm like, oh, he did this thing. It's probably pretty good.
Dude, the ending is like
kind of freaked her out.
Oh my God! I still think about the ending.
The dancing in the wolf mask is nightmare.
It's the wolf mask. Yeah, Peach Fuzz.
Yeah, Peach Fuzz. That's it.
Love it.
Peach,
All right,
Peach
next
Fuzz.
one, Bourbon Street Spook. Would Joe rather have a great Haunted Mansion film or a 5-year pass to Disney World for free?
This is a great question.
I saw this when I was on the train, and I've been like racking my brain because like immediately you think, well, 5 years, like that's a good chunk of change. Like I would go with that, but then I started thinking like, is it me? Is it the whole family? Like, it's still very expensive to stay there, even without the park tickets. So, like, is it really going to make that much of a difference?
Joe,
like, there's a lot.
You and your whole family, park ticket, like for like a comped vacation.
Oh, well, yeah, no question. Then I would rather have that.
Okay.
But if it was just a ticket for me for 5 years, no, I think I'd rather go with the movie.
Because it's still going to cost you money.
Yeah, because it's going to take off a few hundred, but it's not going to make that.
I don't even know if we talked about this, but I sent Joe an article. I found this article on Pirates of the Caribbean about how they have retro, like it's really old. It's one of the original attractions of the park, and there's all this history behind how it was designed and all this shit. And they've basically now gone in and retrofitted like animatronic Johnny Depp into it because he's like what people know as Pirates of the Caribbean now. But it's the same setup, it's the same vignettes, but then all of a sudden like he'll pop up out of a barrel and be like, "Arg, I'm fucking Johnny Depp," and then like he makes it funny, and like they've had to rewrite the story slightly.
It's weird that he has the same name in the movie as in real life.
And I sent it to Joe because like this article I found, this person was like basically said they ruined the ride. Yeah, it was super butthurt, and all the commenters were like right with this guy. So I needed to like.
I mean, it is the internet after all.
I needed to know how Joe felt about this, and he actually was like, "Yeah, that's
no,
fine."
It's kind of ridiculous. Like the guy, like I get it. Like they're tossing in these sort of cash cows into this ride, and it's kind of quote unquote ruining your childhood and whatever. But like
the ride generated the movie. Like I actually would agree with the guy. I mean, I'm not going on the internet to complain about it.
Disney isn't for you anymore. Like I can appreciate the fact that there are adults that are way into Disney, but Disney doesn't give a fuck about you if you're not like
they're
8
there to
years
make
old.
money. Like, if putting like a Johnny Depp in a ride is going to draw more people, and it's still going to get the people that love the ride from when they were a kid anyway, like what's the difference?
They didn't actually change it that drastically from what I
saw.
saw.
No, that's the thing. Like when I first heard about this, I was kind of like, oh geez. But then like when we wrote it, they didn't change the ride at all. Like they just kind of inserted him into like a few clips, and there's a few parts where like the audio is different where they mention like Jack Sparrow and whatever, but for the most part the ride is still the exact same thing. So
wait,
I mean,
so he doesn't like pop up and actually say like, I'm Jack Sparrow or anything like that.
No,
it's integrated.
Like,
it's written,
that's what Eric said. It's fucking Johnny
Depp. It's written into the original story.
Yeah. So
hey, you fuck faces of Johnny Depp over here.
You paid money for this shit.
He's there as Edward Scissorhands. It's really
So I don't know.
But no, they didn't modify the ride that much enough that like, and I listen to like a lot of these podcasts too, where like these guys are just like the worst of the worst about complaining about everything they do, and even like they do not complain that much about it. Like it didn't change that much. I think of all the things like that, you're gonna get angry that they changed. Like I think that's pretty low on the totem pole.
All right, well I think this issue is settled.
Yeah, agreed.
There you go. All right, next one is from Diana NK, I think. Blackcoat's Daughter was originally called February, which is a superior title. What's the crew's favorite poorly named film?
I actually the Blackcoat's Daughter, like, I don't understand the context of the film at all, but I like the title. Although it sounds very fancy, which this movie is.
Mm-hmm. So I agree with that.
I'm okay with it.
It sounds British, much like Bloody Good Horror. It sounds British.
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be like a foreign period piece with subtitles because I had only heard the title. I knew nothing about it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, well, I just assumed that they like looked. I mean, February is like even more
too generic.
Yeah, I was gonna say like
it's like spring.
February is what you name. February is what you name like your student short film, not your movie that you actually want people to find and see.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything particularly bad that stands out, but every now and then I think about poor Adam Green, who actually made a really great film called Frozen. Like
that's true.
4 years before the Disney mega smash hit.
I bet you that.
They're gonna retitle it Frozen. The original one.
It probably does hurt his Google searches a little bit, but
I mean, like, wait, is the question? Does it have to be a movie that we like or?
No, I think just
because I think the Bye Bye Man, we can all agree, is the worst title of any film ever made.
Well, it says what's the crew's favorite poorly named film, so I take that to mean a good film with a bad name, but
I don't know. I know there are some, but I don't know off the top of my head.
The Pee Pee Poo Poo Man.
The Pee Pee Poo Poo Man. That's my favorite title to a poor film.
Next one, we're kind of related. Stout 2 114. Which horror movies do you most associate with the Four Seasons?
I mean, I always think of like summer camp slashers in the summer.
Think of The Thing in winter.
Oh yeah. One of those Silent Night, Deadly Night. I always think of like.
Return of the Living Dead and Creepshow are two like very strongly associated summer movies for me, and I always try to watch them during those times. Like Return of the Living Dead takes place on the 4th of July, and Creepshow, there's my favorite. This is so stupid, but I'm gonna say it anyway. My favorite segment in Creepshow is the one with Hal Holbrook and Adrienne Barbeau, with the thing under the stairs. And there's this whole like monologue that he gives where he's talking about how the timing was perfect to try to have this thing kill his wife because it's August and the summer session is let out, but nobody's on campus for fall for another like 2 weeks or something. And like that is literally stuck in my head for 25 years. And so I always think of that movie as like a late summer movie. And that's why.
Oh, that's very specific.
Yeah, you're a crazy person. I was just
you.
going to say Halloween for the fall.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah. I was gonna say that also.
No trick or
I was gonna
treat.
say that too.
For trick or treat.
Yeah.
I always say this when we talk about Halloween movies, but I always think of Scream 2 as like a. I think that's just kind of a.
Scream 2? Or
No,
just
Scream also. Scream.
Scream is a good.
Not the first
Scream
one.
is
only
definitely
part
a
two.
good fall movie. I agree.
Do we have a
I mean-
spring one? I don't know. If
Yeah,
there's a
spring. Spring
Just
Spring.
sucks.
The movie Spring.
Spring sucks. So,
Ooh.
like the season.
Jeez, Eric.
Yeah, simmer down, bro.
It's dirty. My allergies are bad. Everything's muddy and disgusting, and it's cold. Like when it's cold when it should be warm, which is worse than just being cold in winter. Boo.
Okay.
So there you go. You have our movies for winter, summer, and fall, and you also have Eric's least favorite season.
Spring,
I'll spell that.
summer, or fall.
All you've
Add
got
it.
to
do is
call.
call.
This might be my.
You gotta add that to the Spotify list, Mark.
Yeah.
You've got a
You've
friend.
got a friend.
I think Joe's just singing songs on the podcast to add it to our playlist now.
That was a that was a new one. That was good.
Yeah.
I like that. I like me some James
just-
Taylor.
I don't want to like build this up too much, but this may be my favorite nonsense question of all time from a person who normally asks us legit questions. This is from Igiza. Have you ever peed so hard that your pee lifted you off the ground?
What the hell?
No, I don't think so.
I think
Oh,
once,
dude.
but yeah.
I've certainly
I
had
could-
ones
I like-
where
Really out of it.
like
I'm
you're
having
in
a
a
hard time telling if like this was someone else that like took over his Twitter account for a second or what. But
have you ever
Yo,
like
Giza, you've been hacked, bro.
have you ever been
You've been hacked.
you ever been stuck in a car for like a very, very long time having to pee, like you're stuck in traffic or something?
Oh Lord.
So that
yeah.
by the time you actually get there, you can't stand up because you're like like you're having like
hurts.
pains.
Yeah, I know
So
that
like
pain.
you literally have to hunch into
Yo,
the
this
building.
is getting personal.
Yeah.
Save
That's
the
the
average
worst.
Joe.
That's the absolute worst.
I thought you were going to talk about peeing in a bottle stories, and I had like 3 queued
I
up ready
have,
to go.
Oh,
I have,
yeah.
I have done that. Yeah.
The Lincoln Tunnel has taken me down more than once.
Oh, boy.
Happened to me. I had to do it in Jersey once on the some highway in Jersey. I don't remember, but
Probably the Jersey Turnpike.
yeah. On my moving back from Florida, I had a giant Gatorade bottle with me that I would pee in, and then which is really difficult because I'm like not tall.
Whoa,
enough.
whoa,
I'm too
whoa,
I'm
whoa,
too
whoa.
short.
The same one that you used multiple times.
Yeah, it was like a 24-hour drive, dude. I'm not gonna buy new Gatorade bottles. I just dumped it out when I got to like the next rest
You've
stop.
got 2 buckets.
All right,
One
I
for
think we got to move on here. Let's keep this
This is-
rolling.
I am never going to be able to
what kind of-
unlearn this revelation.
what
You
kind
had,
of- what
you
kind
had a dedicated piss bottle.
What
in
kind
your
of
car.
bougie
You're-
shit is buying multiple? Like you need a clean pee bottle every
Yeah.
time, Mark? Like seriously?
Your Gatorade only costs like $2.
Yeah, no, you throw that bad boy away when you are
You're
done.
gonna spend $2 every time you have to pee. I'm with Eric on
no,
this.
No, plus I went to Walmart and I got the special huge one, so they don't have that at every rest stop. I can't like stop.
You went
Just
to
get like a bedpan.
That would have worked.
no,
great.
you went to Walmart and bought an empty Gatorade bottle.
You just went into their break room. You done with that, buddy?
This one's specifically for lemon lime, but it's empty.
Walked up to the register, was like, "Do
Oh,
you know the
God.
capacity of this jug?"
Yeah. Oh my
What's,
God, Jesus
Y'all
Christ!
sick. You
All right,
sick.
What's the
y'all
diet?
need Jesus.
What's the
This
diet?
last one is from franchise at PLS. Do you like the previous title, February, better?
No, I think we covered that.
No.
Asked and answered.
I think this movie should have been called Walmart Piss Bottle. What do you guys think?
That was the name of my band in college.
Listen, I am not gonna stand here and pretend that I'm the only one that has ever done this. Okay, so
It's not the pee in the bottle; it's keeping the bottle.
Keeping the
That's
bottle,
the
yeah,
issue.
that's the next level.
whatever, man. Put a cap on it, throw it on the back seat, forget about it.
Oh God.
This week, listeners, please tweet us A, if you've ever peed in a bottle on the road, and B, if you kept the bottle.
It's
We're-
pretty.
this is-
I feel
Listen,
badly for the
Listen,
female listeners.
I
here.
kept
They're
it till the
probably
next time we stopped, and then I dumped it out, and then it was empty. Why is that
And
an
then you
issue?
brought it back in the car, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. I see no shame in this.
I don't know. Well,
God.
I wish Casey was here. He'd be the tiebreaker because John and I are clearly disgusted.
So-
Casey has peed in a bottle.
Yeah.
Come on.
So
But has he kept it? That's the question.
so bougie.
Casey's
tonight, you
done
two.
it in his own home just so he didn't have to get up and. Oh Lord.
Schnarr's is like, one time I drank so much white wine I couldn't even make it to the bidet.
The Chardonnay.
Ooh.
Chardonnay Bidet. That was Joe's other band.
Tingly. John, what are we doing next week?
We don't know. We will be letting people know on the social medias.
Besides peeing in a bottle.
We probably won't be
Jenkum.
doing
We're
that.
doing the movie Jenkum.
No. Django the movie.
Nope, it's something different. If
Django
you
Unchained.
want to hang out with us all day on Slack, you should become a patron. Or if you want to see this show live in video as it's recorded, or get access to the archives all the way back, potentially to episode 1, which I will refuse to do myself because I'm terrified to hear old Eric talk about anything. So you can do that, though, if you'd like to. bloodygoodhorror.com or patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. And don't forget, Joe's on Snapchat,
Oh, yeah.
sending out pictures of his dog.
I'd actually be curious, like, if any of our listeners are using Snapchat or just the Instagram.
Are we just using
thing
Instagram
more.
now? Yeah. it's
No,
cool.
I'm trying to do both, but yeah,
No, I
it's
mean
too
like
much.
I mean the collective we.
I think I speak for everyone when I say you can just do the Instagram stories and say screw Snapchat, but I'm not the target audience. So
We've got so many followers.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for this episode of Bloody Good Horror. I feel like we learned a lot about each other tonight.
sure did.
I hope you enjoyed it. We'll talk to you next week.
Adios.
See you.
Beep, beep, boop, boop, man. Bye-bye.